First up, it's Dr. Pixie McKenna. She's a practicing GP, a presenter and UK medical guru, best known for her role on Channel 4's Embarrassing Bodies. Dr. Pixie McKenna joins us to share her expert advice on stress, its factor in health, and to tell us what steps we can take to reduce it for ourselves and for those around us. Happy belated St. Patrick's Day and welcome, Pixie.
Thank you so much, Angela. It's a great pleasure to be here. To talk about a subject that is very close to my heart. You know, I am a GP, but I'm also a member of the human race. So I also, like everyone else, suffer from stress. And I suppose one of the things that I kind of want to sort of get across is the fact that stress and illness are inextricably, that's a big word, linked. That one feeds the other, one drives the other. It's really, really important. I suppose to kick off, it would be good to get a definition of stress. So what is stress? Stress is something that causes strong feelings of worry or anxiety. And it's a state of tension that arises when you experience demands from your environment or from inside yourself. Now, a really common mantra at the moment is that we're all stressed. It's just part of life. And COVID has made people's stress skyrocket, as you just mentioned. Some people's stress has gone down, it's stabilized or it's subsided, but most people's stress has gone up. And from my perspective as a GP, I feel that the cumulative stress of COVID life has meant that a lot of people who on the face of things appear to be doing grand are actually finding it really hard. There's a bit of a stiff upper lip, there's a bit of a others are worse off, and you feel that if you moan, actually you're going to be called a whinger. You're going to be talking about first world problems when other people have maybe lost their jobs, lost loved ones, etc. But you know what we really want to get across is that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be stressed in the current environment. It's fine. You've got to talk about it. Don't, whatever you do, suppress it. I think one thing that's absolutely certain, I've been a GP for over 25 years, and for sure, work-related stress is one of the most common stresses for people. 4 in every 5 workers report that work is the key area for their stress. It's their key stressor. And listen, there's a great irony in that because the workplace is where we want our employees to be happy, to be healthy, and of course, as a result, to be productive. And, you know, therefore, we're doing better in terms of our business, our industry. But as a direct result of being in that very environment, people are stressed. And if you look at this financially, stress is costing us money. A total of 40 million working days a year are wasted due to stress, and it costs industry £1.5 billion in the UK. In the US, that figure is £300 billion a year. Can you imagine what you could do with the health service with that? So in terms of NHS resources, what are we doing? We're using up 68 million GP appointments due to stress. We've got a staggering 5.5 million hospital admissions due to stress. Now, of course, when I hear these kind of figures, I think that's all very well, but at the moment, people can't get to see the GP. They're not going to hospital. So what's happening? All these stressed people, what are they doing? Where are they going in this current environment? They've been cast adrift. They're dealing with it on their own. I mean, even the NHS staff are stressed. And so we've got to get our stress awareness and our stress management right if we want to be happier, we want to be healthier. And as industry and organizations, companies and big business wants to be more profitable and more productive. So let's roll back on the stress equation. Now, stress is essentially an equation. S equals P greater than R. S stands for stress, P stands for pressure, and the greater than sign is greater than your resource. So if your pressure is greater than your resource, then you're going to be stressed. It can be very, very real, or it can be perceived. So real is some guy with an axe comes in my door, whoa, absolute stress. Or real is also someone like my CAO or my boss comes in the door, also stressful. Now, the Axeman is probably going to kill me. The CEO is going to fire me. But both of them create the same response. We're hardwired to deal with stress through our fight or flight system. And this is a mechanism that's evolved because through evolution, we needed to be able to react to threats in order to survive. we had to rise to the challenge in a physical way so that we ultimately then evolved physiologically to do so. And when the system of stress alert is switched on, we either put up a fight or we flee, we leg it, we go from the danger. So Axeman enters the room. What happens? The threat, it could be different to the threat that I might get if I got a piece of bad news, but the process that is triggered is exactly the same for all scenarios. And like an automatic cascade starts. So what happens to me? So my eyes and my ears send a message to the emotion center of my brain, an area called the amygdala. And that interprets these signals. And if it perceives there's a danger for me, it's going to go to the command center called the hypothalamus, and that's going to switch on my autonomic nervous system. Ultimately, it's going to press the big red button. And our stress mechanism is going into autopilot. Now, how does that physically manifest? So what happens is my adrenal glands kick into action. They start pumping out adrenaline and cortisone. Blood is pushed away from non-essential functions and goes right into my heart, it goes to my vital organs, because we need those pumping hard if we're going to take on this threat. Because we either have to fight or we have to run for our lives. Heart rate's going up, blood pressure's going up, breathing much, much faster because we want more oxygen to come into our lungs. My sight, my hearing, my senses, they're going to be sharper because I'm honing in on that threat. I want to know, right? I want to know where it is. I want to action it. There's sugar and fat going into my bloodstream because I need energy to fight off this threat. And blood is directed away from my bowels and my bladder because ultimately it's not very useful to go to the ladies in the middle of a stressful event. My senses are enhanced, my pupils dilate, my muscles tense, and I'm really mentally alert. I'm also sweating, my hair is standing on end, but the aim of the game is for me to either run faster or hit harder. So in the office setting, or in the queue at Pret, or like you are behind your screen today, this type of reaction is very rarely necessary because there's no threat to your survival. You don't need to run faster. You don't need to hit harder. The response is disproportionate. But if you push the red button for whatever stressful reason, that's the response you're going to get, whether it's a queue jumper, whether it's a bad email, or whether it's an axe murderer. And if we repeatedly push that red button, it results in the alarm response. But then we start to adapt to this alarm response and this stress response. And ultimately, it leads to exhaustion. We get bodily wear and tear. And some people start thinking as stress is, it's okay, whatever, it's part of normal life. But actually, when you start to tell people that stress is something that negatively affects your health in the long term, that's the biggest incentive for people to actually look at it and address it. And one of the things that stress in long term causes is high blood pressure. It also causes cardiovascular disease. People have strokes and heart attacks due to major stressful events. When there's a tsunami, or even when Christmas is there, people have more heart attacks because it's stressful. And this is the body's reaction to that stress. You could have a stroke. Diabetes is more likely if you're chronically stressed because you're pumping out all that sugar and that cortisone to address the stress in your fight or flight response. You become depressed, you become anxious, your immune system doesn't work as well, so you're getting sick all the time, your reproductive organs aren't working as well, so you've got fertility issues, you gain weight. Stressed people can eat as much as 40% more than they would normally eat when they're not stressed. It ages you. You get shortening of these things called telomeres, which are at the end of chromosomes, and it means that cells can't grow as quickly. So actually, do you know what that translates into? Wrinkles, poor muscular function, bad eyesight. I'm a bit of an advert for stress here, I think. And you also get gastric intestinal things. So you get ulcers, you get changes in your gut bacteria, and all of these have far-reaching consequences. And ultimately, stress can kill you. In Japan, which is known for its really, really harsh work culture and its arduous working hours, as far back as the 1970s, it's a long time ago, they coined a term called karoshi. And karoshi refers to sudden death due to work stress. And karoshi is a well-known phenomenon in Japanese culture. So it's kind of ironic, really, when you think that here we are in a perceivingly civilized society, when years and years ago, you read the Charles Dickens stuff, and they were sending people up chimneys and down mines and all kinds of things, and people were dying because of poor conditions and inhaling terrible fumes and getting limbs severed because of terrible machinery. And we're looking at us and we're going, we're so sophisticated, we've moved on. But actually, we haven't moved on. We are sending people right into a very, very, very stressful environment. It may not be physically stressful, but it is mentally stressful. And this kind of stress that you experience at work, because that's the most common place you're going to get stress, is an occupational hazard. It really is. And it's an occupational hazard for which you can't wear a hard hat. So I see a lot of patients who are stressed, and it takes ages sometimes to convince them that they are stressed. So you have to kind of tease out the symptoms and get them to join the dots. And sometimes people don't recognize that they are stressed. So for example, a physical symptoms of stress, what might they be? So tired all the time. Phenomenally common symptom in general practice, really, really common. Headache, tension headaches, really, really common. Worries, then of course, if you've got a headache, you're worried you might have a brain tumor. Not sleeping, weight fluctuations, irritable bowel syndrome, chest pain and palpitations. 1 million people go into A&E each year in the UK with chest pain due to unknown causes, and at least a quarter of them are there because of stress. Itchiness is a symptom, dizziness, erectile dysfunction, loss of libido, tooth grinding, jaw pain, tingling hands and feet, spasm in your eyes, muscles twitching, breathlessness, aches and pains, and then flare-ups of all your existing conditions like blood pressure, asthma, eczema, everything just kicks off, comes to join the party. Then you've got the cognitive manifestations. So what are they? Coming in, you're saying my concentration is bad. People are saying they're saying I'm making loads of mistakes at work. I had an accident in my car. And my perception of things is all wrong, but really bad attention span. And even in the last 2 weeks, I've done mental health test scores on 2 really young guys who thought they had Alzheimer's because their memory has become so bad due to the stress that they're under. And then finally, you have the behavioral symptoms. How do we react? We get angry, we withdraw, we overeat, we abuse substances. Now, substances can be anything from something awfully hazardous like crack cocaine to actually taking things like ibuprofen, drinking too much wine, smoking. There are a whole host of things that people do to get a little bit of a fix to actually try and eliminate that stress. You notice that people overeat. They don't turn up for work. So absenteeism, if you've missed a lot of work, you've got to think stress. Relationship issues, desk rage, you're known as the vixen in the office because you're always kicking off. Restlessness, nail biting, pulling bits out of your hair, scratching, regular illness, you're picking up every single infection that's down, comes up and down. And self-care. Self-care also goes out the window. So what we've got to look at is we've got to recognize stress is a part and parcel of life, but we don't need to accept it. We need to recognize it. We need to understand it. And the ABC of managing stress is quite simply, A is for awareness, B is for balance. Get the balance. And B is also for boundaries. Get the balance, get the boundaries. And C is for control. Because unless you're in control, stress is going to control you. You're not going to control stress. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. You got to fix the fixable, accept the inevitable, and protect yourself and your health. We spend an average of 1/3 of our lives at work. So as employers and managers, you're really in a pivotal position in terms of tackling stress in the workplace, and in doing so, fostering a really happy, healthy, more productive workforce. And the actions and the interventions that occur in work can actually really, really make a difference, make much more of a difference than what I'm doing, the day-to-day job as a GP. So it starts very much with you. Any questions, I'm very happy to answer.